Don't leave home without it. Nothing like keeping your behind warm and dry. Well, time for another story. This time it's going to be 1975. That was the, shall we call it, the terror on the slopes of Mount Baker, Washington. 1975, that was the year that Mount Baker started to show a little activity. There are some little rumblings, a little magma been moved around underneath. There have been a few landslides into Baker Lake. And if you look real close at the summit, you can sometimes see a little bit of steam coming off. That was in 1975, 50 years ago. And the night of terror I spent on the slopes of that mountain. So I had spent quite a bit of time around Mount Baker ski area, up the Nooksack River, up over Hannigan Pass and over to Mount Sheskin. I never spent much time on the south side of Mount Baker, so I decided I was going to go up there, spend a couple of nights. I drove up Skagit River, up to Concrete, from there on up to Baker Lake, and I think it was the month of September, probably around Labor Day, maybe a little later. Most of the snow had left the high country. And my goal, I had looked at a map earlier, and I noticed that between the Eastern Glacier on the left and Deming Glacier, I should say on the left, and the Eastern Glacier on the right, there was a ridge that went up towards the summit of Mount Baker, which is about 12,000 some feet, I think, 11,000. Pretty close to, well, maybe it's only 10 something. But anyway, it's around 11,000 feet. I had to check for a while. Anyway, behind Mount Rainier is the most glaciated volcano in the Pacific Northwest. Baker is. So my goal was to go up between the two glaciers, get as high up on the mountain as I could, and it looked like a place called the Lee Promontory, if I remember right. Right top of the glaciers, must have been about 1,500, 2,000 feet below the summit, rocky area. Looked like there's a couple of flat spots up in there to camp. That was my goal. You know, years ago, I started with an old Argus camera back in the 60s. You know, we had to do your own light meter and all that. But I'd finally bought in the 70s. I bought a Minolta, had an automatic light meter. But you know, the camera was that big. You know, it was heavy. And then I had a 35 millimeter lens, which was about like that. And then I had a 400, which was about like that. It required a tripod if I wanted to take it with me. So, you know, back those days, I had to pack about 8 pounds of camera equipment. Plus I took at least 3 boxes of Kodachrome, 36. Took out almost 100 rounds for pictures. You know, back then you had to send it in to be developed. You never knew what you were going to get until it came back. Anyway, I started up the trail. And the trail kind of petered out really quick on this rocky area. Yeah, I just kind of kept going up it, seeing one glacier on one side and the other glacier on the other side. And big area, rocky area, they called the Black Buttes, I think it is. I wasn't familiar with a lot of the peaks and the mountains and stuff back then, and you know, we didn't have Google and we didn't have a whole lot of stuff. So if you wanted to learn about a particular mountain and a particular way to get to the mountain and a particular way to climb the mountain, you know, a route, you got Fred Becky's book. And Fred Becky, he was a guy who climbed all over the Pacific Northwest, and he kept meticulous records of his climbs and where he climbed up through and the different routes to the summits of the mountains. We called it Becky's Bible. So anyway, I was I was kind of dealing with that, and I'd spot this spot because it is an actual route to the summit on the south side of Mount Baker, up towards what's called the Sherman crater on the top. As I went up, I could see once in a while little puffs of steam coming out of the crater at the top of the mountain. And if you look real close with the telephoto on the camera, I could see the snow up there. Have a little bit of yellowish green look from sulfur, and the fumes coming out of fumaroles of the volcano. I think Baker only remained that active for a few months, then it kind of calmed down again. I do know they watch it closely because it, you know, the mud flows and stuff could do a lot of damage if it ever erupted. So I worked my way up. Nice sunny day, just taking my time. I was fascinated by the glaciers on both sides and the strange shapes of the ice. I thought, hey, why don't I climb down inside and take pictures looking out? So I did. I found a spot where I could work down underneath. I think it was the Eastman Glacier. I went under first, went under the ice. There were like little ice caves in there, but they weren't real tall or anything. They had to kind of crawl between the rock wall and the glacier. But I was able to sit down there and take pictures like these here. I took different pictures of all the different weird shapes of the ice. And some of them looked like people and heads, and yeah, it was really fascinating. They went over and did the same thing over on the Deming side as they got higher up on the mountain. Anyway, I continued my way up to the Lee Promontory, and it was a nice day, watching the ice, taking naps, looking south and see Mount Rainier, Glacier Peak, and yeah, it was quite a pleasant, I guess you call it an Indian summer day in the high country. And I never took a tent, I just set up a tarp, and I found a flat spot way at the top of the Lee Promontory between the glaciers up there. There's some fresh water running down, so I had plenty of water to drink, and just kind of used the rocks and stuff, and found a few sticks, because I was way above tree level. Probably, I don't know, over 7,000 feet, maybe 75, so I was about 2,000 feet above timberline. I mean, it was way down there, trees and brush. Anyway, I set up my camp and made myself some tea and a little meal, whatever. Kind of enjoyed the sunset. It was really a beautiful day. Then I kind of fell asleep. And it was getting pretty dark, but I kept seeing flashing things. What the heck? I woke up and I looked to the south towards Mount Rainier, and the sky was just like this. I don't know if you've ever been in a real lightning storm in the mountains. I mean a real one where it's continually flashing non-stop all around you. Well, that's what it was doing down there, about 40, 50 miles away. Damn, that was pretty watching that. So I watched it for a while. I started to doze off again. Pretty soon, flashing woke me up again. What the heck? So I got up and I looked to the south, and that thunder lightning storm was coming straight at me. And it was coming fast. There was a coming and a coming. I thought, oh no, here I am above tree line, you know. I had been a member. I attended some of the meetings and stuff. Tacoma Mountaineers. I'm sure they're still around, but you know, they taught you how to act when lightning's coming and you're above the tree line on a mountain. You know, what you do is of course, the first thing I was doing was putting my boots on, watching this coming and coming and coming. Well, what you do is you take your pack and you throw it on the ground, and you take all your gear. If you got ropes and jackets and sleeping bags and everything, and you pile it on top, and then you sit, you know, right on top of that pile of stuff on the ground currents, and try to insulate you from any kind of lightning, because there was no way I was going to be able to pack up and get down that mountain, even to the tree line, and then I wouldn't be safe unless I got into some big trees and a protected area down below me. Yeah, I could not believe it. This thing's coming at me and coming at me. I got my boots all done and started to undo my tarp, whatever. And then I watched for a second, and I slowly watched that thunder and that thunderstorm and all that lightning. I mean, it was just like this, flashing non-stop. I never seen anything like it. It was like old movies you see where they're firing guns in World War II and the flashes, you know, boom, 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 boom. I've only seen that one other time in Idaho in the mountains. This was an incredible lightning storm going on. But anyway, I watched and I looked and I thought, wait a minute. And I watched this thing it was coming straight at me, and I just watched it slowly go off to the left. So I got within, I think maybe 10, 15 miles, maybe, before it started to move off to the eastern part of Washington State. It went over the mountains. But boy, I tell you, I really got nervous about that one. You know, and a lot of people are, you know, you hear people that are fall or whatever, have problems, or they're attacked by bears or some other thing. But it's surprising how many people are killed every year from lightning strikes, especially in the mountains and exposed areas. So my training with the, even though the storm didn't come directly over the top of me, my training with the Tacoma Mountaineers paid off. I mean, I was getting ready. Now, whether or not that really worked, I didn't have a chance to find out, and I'm sure glad I didn't have to. So that was my night of terror. The terror didn't last too long, but I got pretty scared there for a while. So I hope you enjoyed this little story, and I plan on bringing you some more stories here pretty quick. So until then, be sure to watch my other stories on the YouTube channel. And if you want to subscribe, fine. If you want to watch them, fine. I'll never ask for money. You're never going to tell you to go to a Patreon site. You know, I'm putting these on here for people to enjoy. I originally wanted to write a book, but I'm not able to write anymore. So that's why I'm doing it on video. I'm going to have a lot of stories. There's a lot of them there now. So until next time, have a great day.